The leader I'm speaking with today is one of the longest-serving senior executives at Accenture. In fact, when he first joined the firm 37 years ago in 1984, Accenture didn't even exist yet. It was then Arthur Andersen, which later split into Andersen Consulting. He was one of the members of the board that took the firm public in 2001, listing on the New York Stock Exchange. And today, he is Chief Executive Officer of Accenture Growth Markets, which encompasses Asia Pacific, Africa, Middle East, Latin America, with some 350,000 employees. I'm speaking with Gianfranco Casati. Gianfranco, thank you so much for inviting me to your home and making time for this conversation.
Well, welcome. Glad to have you to my home, to my office, to my holiday place, all here.
You've been with Accenture for quite a long time, but many people both inside and outside of the firm may not know that much about your background and your journey. So I thought we'd start at the beginning. You grew up in a small town in Italy, and in fact, even before you were born, your path was supposed to have been predetermined.
This is so true. At that time, growing in a small village in Italy would mean continuing the family business. And in my case, my father was the first and the only accountant in an area of villages, little towns. Still today, when I go back there, they call me the son of the accountant. Which is funny because they remember who I am based on who my father was. And so I grew up with the idea that I would have continued with my father. At some point in time, I started feeling that that was not my life. One thing that you need to know is that in Italy, small businesses tend to be built at the ground floor of a building. And then the family lives on top. And in my case, the office of my father was on the ground floor, and we were living at the fifth floor.
So you've been working from home since then, actually?
Exactly. I was working from home even before this was invented. While today I see a logic I didn't like at that time. I was 23 years old. And when I realized that my life would be on the elevator in between the fifth floor and the ground floor, and from the ground floor to the fifth floor, and the next day the same, those few seconds that I would spend on the elevator, I couldn't get air enough to breathe. And so that's when I decided to talk to my father and ask him whether I could go somewhere to learn and do something different, and then that was 37 years ago.
Well, you decided to leave your town, go to the big city to explore new opportunities, and I understand that your mother was actually quite hurt and disappointed.
Well, good news, she's not anymore. But yes, at that time, the idea that somebody with a safe, secure job would give it up for something else was perceived as really strange. And so for a period of time, we had an interesting dialogue on my choice, yes.
So that was 1984,
Yes.
when you first joined Accenture, and the first thing that they did was to send you to the United States. Were you excited?
The short answer is yes. Yes, big time. So all my studies were around accounting, tax, nothing to do with programming or information technology, zero. And so I was parachuted in the US, listening to a language which was not my familiar language, and learning something that I never thought of, which was programming. And so at the end of the first week, I call home and I tell my mom, "You probably had it right, Mom. I'm not sure whether I finished the entire training. I may come back sooner."
So you thought you were not going to make it?
At the end of week one, that was the case. Week 2 and week 3 were about self-study to learn programming. And at that point, I figured out how to do it. A bit of logic, a bit of mathematics, a bit of human ingenuity, and I made it. And that was the beginning of 37 years.
You are responsible for growth markets in Accenture. Can you talk a bit about the specific opportunities in growth markets and the trajectory?
I feel lucky for many reasons, but one reason is that I'm in one of the best jobs possible at Accenture. Thinking about growth markets means thinking about almost 3/4 of the world population. It means thinking about a very young population on average. Countries where technology allows to skip entire steps of business and social evolution. And so the idea of being here and figuring out how to use all that Accenture makes available to accelerate growth and success for our clients and for our societies is super exciting, and is what makes me think this is the best job possible that I could dream of. Today we are 18 times bigger in terms of market cap compared to when we got listed. And this is beyond what we could anticipate.